Insta playoff speculations. Will the NHL end the regular season and start a 24-team playoff series right away? Who will the Lightning face? How will we do? Find out on this episode of Distant Lightning. Okay, so we haven't had much hockey lately, but there's some news came out, all-knowing Allie, that you were telling me about, that the NHL may just stop the regular season where it left and immediately move into a 2014 playoff?
Yes, absolutely. The NHL is considering a 24-team playoff, which will leave 7 teams out of the playoffs, so pretty close to my prediction that all 31 teams would get to play. And we still don't know whether they'll be playing in their own stadiums or if they're going to be playing in centralized stadiums. But it was on Sportsnet, it was on NBC, that this is something that they're seriously considering. And I, for one, am happy because Tampa is definitely not going to be one of the 7 teams that isn't playing.
Speaking of the 7 teams that get left out, sorry guys if you're on this list, but in the Eastern Conference, it's Buffalo, New Jersey, Ottawa, and Detroit. In Western Conference, Anaheim, Los Angeles, and San Jose. Well,
even I must admit, if there was some kind of a system where Ottawa would get to play, that would be a damn shame.
So if the regular playoff brackets were used, let's say they didn't do 24 teams and they just went right into a regular, typical playoff bracket, in the Eastern Conference, you would see Boston playing Columbus and Tampa Bay, our team playing the Maple Leafs, and then Capitals against the Carolina Hurricanes and the Flyers against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I took a look at the Vegas odds based on those matchups, and overall, actually, Vegas has the Flyers winning the Stanley Cup. So I thought it was very interesting, and they would play the Vegas Golden Knights in that playoff.
Wow,
final.
What a game!
Yeah, I mean, that would be probably fun to watch, and it'd be fun to see gritty, but
the Gila Monster.
Yeah, the Gila Monster. We have a soft spot for Vegas too, but not having the Lightning in the mix, it was interesting. The odds of any Eastern Conference team making the third round, actually Tampa Bay was top of the list for the odds, likeliest chance to get to the third round, but they didn't think we could overcome the Flyers to get into.
Well,
the final.
we saw Vegas play this year, and they spanked the Canadiens when we were there. So.
Yes, but we did lose to the Maple Leafs pretty much the last game of the NHL regular season this year.
So there you go.
By a close margin, so didn't really say much. On the Western Conference, if you're into those teams, it would be Golden Knights against the Winnipeg Jets, Edmonton Oilers against Calgary Flames, St. Louis against Nashville, and the Colorado Avalanche against the Stars. And I think the Avalanche was getting a lot of love late season from odds makers. But again, as I mentioned earlier, the Golden Knights were projected.
We don't follow a lot of the Western Division teams because of the time zone difference. We go to bed early, so we don't stay up late for games. As a matter of fact, we hate it when Tampa plays out west because we know we got to stay up. Although a lot of times we just listen to it on the radio because we're too lazy to actually stay up. So.
Okay, so now how would we do? Who would we play? If it's 24 teams.
Okay, now
who
would
we play?
Battle of Florida.
Yes, as it turns out, it would be a Battle of Florida, us against the Swamp Cats, the Florida Panthers, which would be, if they were able to play in the home city, that would be a good series for both players, amazing. Both sets of players, because they don't have to travel very far, right? They have to get across the Everglades and off they go. So they would be fully rested, which could make for a very interesting series because you have guys potentially playing to their full potential, fully rested. A lot more time for rest, less time, cooped up in a bus seat or a plane seat,
But that brings up the point. At this point, if we start playing playoff games, is it like the guys are starting a brand new season because they've had so much time off? I mean, I know it took Tampa quite a while to warm up this season, so would they be right back in the same situation?
Well, every team would be subjected to that scenario, right? Every team is subject to that same scenario, and I think it would really boil down to which team potentially had the most veteran players on it, and maybe the most veteran playoff experience. And of course, our team just happened to pick up a lot of players that fall into that category. They're veteran players to begin with. They have playoff experience. So I would say we're looking pretty good. If the season restarted, I think we're going to be okay. We have enough veterans on the team that can probably jump right into action and stay cool, calm, and collected. And other teams, may not have that capability.
They don't have that poise. Well, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, there is going to be hockey played. There is too much money at stake here. And for all the purists who are upset that they're not going to have a real Stanley Cup, it's not going to be a real, that the players, they just care about the Stanley Cup. No. Everybody cares about money, and everybody cares about playing. And a true hockey player is going to play, even if they have to put on rollerblades and play in my backyard. So I think that this is great. Unfortunately, they're not going to have spectators. I'd be very, very surprised. But the NFL has announced their season, and there has not been talk yet about what's going to happen with their spectators. Who knows? Being in the state of Georgia, which is open for business, and let me assure you that everybody is out there. They are out there with no masks. They are running around wild. Maybe people would be willing to go to a stadium. I don't know.
And be like 6 seats apart from each other?
I mean, that can be enforced.
That's no fun. So back to streaming games. I mean, I don't mind watching from my living room, honestly. It's just bad for the players because they don't have that home fan support, right? Which usually gives them an advantage. They'll be playing to an empty rink. But I don't know. These guys are pros. They've played hockey in all different environments. Empty stadiums, full stadiums. Not necessarily at the pro level, right? They're used to fans. So I don't think it'd be a big deal.
In essence, do these playoff games end up being kind of like a preseason warm-up for next season?
Maybe, but there's a subject of trades, right? I mean, trades have to happen. Usually there's a trade deadline of July 1st, I think. Isn't that
well,
right?
it's the NFL draft that is what the NHL draft that they're really worried about. That's why they're trying to make a decision about what to do, because the NHL wants to do the draft. Well, the draft is not set in stone yet unless they end the season.
Gotcha. So Steve Yzerman, his Yzerman plan in Detroit there to get like the number 1 overall draft pick, and Lord knows what else he's got stacked up.
The percentage is he has a 50% chance, if things end right now, he's a 50% chance of having the first round or first draft pick.
First overall.
First overall draft pick. So it actually, I was looking at the statistics, it's actually a higher statistic based on if they end right now than if they play out, than potentially if they play out the season. So,
all right. So if the playoffs begin tomorrow, I have the Lightning taking the cup. How about you?
Oh, well, of course. This is our year, and I don't even care that there'll be an asterisk next to the season cut short by coronavirus. I don't care. It's still the Stanley Cup. I mean, it's fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Sometimes something weird happens and you have an unusual season. I think on the historical record or like Hall of Fame, it just makes for telling a really good story. It just makes the sport more interesting overall. Hey, remember back in 2020 when the coronavirus struck and they had to change the season? It just really, I think, adds to the depth and lore of professional hockey. So, all right, guys, that's it from us, and thanks for watching. If you like it, hit like. If you want to subscribe, if you're a distant Thunder fan like me, you might enjoy these videos. So hit subscribe, and that way you'll be, I'll show up on your playlist. Click the bell if you want to be notified when we release a new video, and you get to hear us talk and share our opinions on Tampa Bay Lightning and hockey-related stuff. So have a good rest of your evening. Bye.
Bye.
So who can come out of training camp the fastest and come up to speed? And
dog problem. Grab that. I don't know what it is, but the dog's been
like,
eating it.
It's bird poop, I think.
Ugh.
I know. I don't want to touch it.
Well, she's been eating it, so even she was smart enough to stop eating it. She's such a smart doggy.
So as I was saying, action. I forgot what I was going to say.
I mean, I want hockey. Don't you want hockey? I mean, aren't you watching this because you're a hockey fan?